Welcome back to the class, everyone. Jumping into modding once again. We're nearing the end of this series almost, and it gone on for quite a while. Basically, what we're going to be doing here today is we're going to be talking about when you get critical chance set mods with really high speed secondaries. Where do you put them? This has been an ongoing series. We've done it with potency, we've done it with tenacity, we've done it with offense and crit damage. This should all be in a playlist. I'll actually try to link it up below wherever it is right now for everyone to see. But today we are going to be talking about critical chance. So again, when you or someone in your Discord server rolls some absurdly high speed on a critical chance mod, you're great, you're excited about it, but you're sitting here thinking like, okay, I can't just keep throwing everything onto Darth, Revan, or Echo who want the speed. Like, maybe I should actually give this to a character that not only wants to be fast, but on top of that wants to have a little bit of critical chance. So without further ado, Dash is an absolutely great option. This is a little awkward right now, actually, because if you have his level 9 Datacron, then speed doesn't really matter because he's going to take like 16,000 turns because he goes whenever the opponent does. But ignoring Datacrons, like I love to do for most things, putting crit chance on him, or rather putting speed on him, is going to allow him to take more turns. And when he takes more turns, he's going to be able to give the rest of his team turn meter because of his unique Zeta. All prepared allies gain 2% turn meter whenever a prepared ally scores a critical hit. So that includes himself, and Dash has a ton of ways to crit. So it obviously has 3 attacking abilities, and those do fantastic things. But here, deal physical damage 3 times to target enemy, and for each critical hit, call another random prepared ally to assist, dealing 75% less damage. So this attack isn't necessarily about damage. It can hit pretty hard though. But if you're critting 3 times and you're getting 15%, you're not getting 50%, you're getting 6% turn meter. But if you're also constantly calling in everyone, you're going to get even more turn meter. And that doesn't necessarily be on his turn. This can be when Kira or someone calls him in. So just a ton of options there. And his crit chance, it's okay. Like it's pretty high up there. But if you want to be running a crit damage triangle to maximize his damage, he really needs to have at least one crit chance set to go along with very most likely a speed set, and that'll go right over 100, so we should be able to consistently crit. His AoE, this is also a big deal, deals damage 3 times to all enemies. He's hitting 5 enemies in 5v5 3 times. That's 15 hits if he crits every single time. Quick math here, 30% turn meter to the entire team. This really enables him to loop a lot of things, especially when you have characters like Han and Chewie on the team. Don't necessarily have to have them, but it's a good option. So crit chance, get him to crit, get him to generate turn meter for the team, and just keep hitting really stinking hard. We didn't even talk about the fact that that's going to do damage. So next up is actually going to be R2, and this one is going to vary a little. So if you're using R2 currently in the sortie lineup, this probably isn't as important, but I have used R2 for years now, and I'm just stopping to do this now because I got Rey, but under a JTR squad. And the reason why we want to do this is because R2, he has a few ways to get a little bit of critical chance. I believe it's through combat analysis. They get all allies gain 10% critical chance and accuracy, which is pretty cool overall. And not only does he get that here, but R2's a special attacker. You can kind of see that on his moves when you go in here. If anyone wanted to look at that, although that one doesn't do damage. So actually deal physical damage there, but deal special damage on this one. So if you're wanting to crit on that hit and not only cleanse yourself, but generate 5 exposures across the team, which is really important because with BB-8, your R2 is very likely going to be going first as an attacker, unless JTR is able to speed ahead of him because of the turn meter BB-8 draws. And if you look at his crit chance for special, it's abysmal. It's really stinking low. Like, even with my modding on there, even after adding, and I believe JTR's lead gives a bonus for it too, and his unique, he's not hitting 100%. Like, in a perfect world, if I had these mods and I could get 3 crit chance sets on him with a crit chance primary, I would. I'll probably stop focusing on that as much as now because he's probably eventually going to get pushed over to sortie. But for the longest time, that was something that I wanted to do because you do also want him to be fast. You want him to take his turns. You want him to be able to get out there to apply 5 exposes to characters so you can push back their turn mirror with JTR lead. You want him to be able to stun and smoke screen and do all of this fun stuff that he does. And critting also comes in handy with that. Next up is going to be Hoth Rebel Scout. This one's going to be a much more simple kit, while Dash and R2 had like 3 or 4 different things they were doing by critting within the nature of their team. Hoth Rebel Scout is super simple. He wants to be pretty fast because he is the turn meter generator for the Mon Mothma team. Deal physical damage to target enemy with a 40% chance to gain 25% turn meter. Pretty cool. He'll do that every single time he gets called to assist, and when he gets called to assist, he'll eventually get back to his turns. But then he has a fun thing that he can do on critical hits here, where if he deals physical damage to target enemy, he can stun them for 1 turn. In addition, he gains 100% turn meter on a critical hit. So if you take a break, go use the special, not only is everyone else going to get to go again because you're using a move and they're going to all come in with their basic, but there are other characters on the team that can benefit from this. For example, Pow. Pow's going to get, I think it's 40% turn meter when people use basics, no matter what. So if he's at 0% turn meter and your Hoth Rebel Scout here can literally just loop through 2 of his turns, Pow can go from 0 turn meter to almost 100% turn meter between what he's gaining from himself and what he's going to get from your second basic. Again, if you can crit. If you can't crit, you probably shouldn't even be using this move. Like that's gonna backfire pretty heavily on you because you're not gonna be able to use your basic and you're gonna get a pretty large net no turn meter. And while you have this decision as a player on offense, you're on defense. Our Hoth Rebel Scout Boy here is gonna be using this every single time. And his crit chance it's okay, but you want to be able to pump it up as much as you can. Again, if I could have a crit chance, oh, I do, look at me. If you have a crit chance primary, like a 10 speed mod, like that's not that good for where I'm at. Like I'm obviously sacrificing this just to be able to get a decent amount of crit chance here, as well as these 2 mods. Yeah, decent amount of speed. I wouldn't put him as the first priority. In fact, it might be 5th priority between these 5 characters, but he's there. Next up is going to be Mando. Mando has an interesting balance because while you do want him to crit, he's a damage dealer. That's kind of obvious. He also gets critical chance up here, which is pretty cool. But every single time he crits, when you have him have his Zeta, he's not only going to give 30% turn meter to himself, but 15% turn meter to all his other allies. And when you have his crit chance super high and you're calling him to assist with Grief or your Bosk or whoever else can call to assist on the Bounty Hunter team, he's going to keep generating that amount of turn meter, really to more of extent that our Hoth Rebel Scout was. And again, if you look at his crit chance, it's pretty small. Like it's about 50%. So you don't have to necessarily run 3 on him, but I would definitely advise at least 2 because you have to remember he's going to get 25% from critical chance up, which I guess he needs to take a turn or he needs to use his basic at least once to be able to get that. So there is that. But I like having him at 100 just because if anyone has critical avoidance, because if you mess up the turn order for bounty hunters and how they gain turn meter, that fight can go south really fast. He's probably the character who's most important to have crit chance on. You do want him to have a decent amount of speed for him to be able to fall in to the correct line with your bounty hunters, but you don't want him to be too fast. Like I would definitely put more of an emphasis of crit chance, than speed on. So I have a plus 23 here to get him where I need to be, but on some of these other mods, like I have sub 10. So definitely a candidate for them. Just make sure you don't mess up your turn meter because he needs to be slowest on that team, albeit most of their characters are pretty darn fast. And last but not least is going to be our buddy Cam. It was very sad. We left Cam out of both the offense and the crit damage sets up here, which he was a little bummed about that he didn't get to be a part of either of these. But I do really like crit chance on Cam as well. He wants to be fast so that he can be able to get out, deal his damage to his turns. He doesn't, different from I think all 4 other characters, he doesn't have a secondary effect when he crit chance. He's just a raw damage dealer, and he's one of those raw damage dealers that, again, if we go into his critical chance here or physical, it's really small. Like the dude is like 50% critical chance, and what's even sadder, most of the teams, not all, but most of the teams he gets used in don't have a way to just give him a stupid amount of crit chance. Like you can get a little bit from General Anakin, about 25%. I think another 25% from Bast Lashan if you're using them in the comps together. But like Jedi Master Luke doesn't just feed him it. It's not as good as it could be. And I think getting him at least into that 75 percentile, which you really want a crit chance set to do, and you definitely don't want to be dropping a crit damage triangle to be able to put crit chance on there. So definitely a great candidate for it, simply for damage. Actually very different from the other characters. Like Dash and Mando deal decent damage, but they have other effects that they were getting in there as well. That pretty much is going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know if there's another character that we missed. We're nearing the end here on this series, but I think I've enjoyed it, and I'm probably just going to keep this list around even for my own reference to use it exactly as I'm telling other people to use it. So that is going to be it for today. Remember to like and subscribe, and as always, stay awesome.